Hello, my name is Ryan from Buster Beagle 3D. Today I want to do a little bit of a comparison video between the xTool D1 Pro and the Ortur Laser Master 3. These are both very capable machines, but they do have a couple little differences. So I thought I would put this together and give you guys a more informed understanding of the differences of these two machines. So what do I think of these two machines? How do I think they compare? Well, let's find out. So again, I just wanted to say that I actually really do like both of these machines, but there are a couple little differences that you should probably know about. So on the Ortur machine, we have a workable area of 400 in the X and 400 millimeters in the Y. And on the xTool, we have 430 in the X and 400 in the Y. That might change a little bit depending on the version of the laser that you have, but for the most part, the xTool is slightly larger than the Ortur machine. Now, both of these machines have the ability to be expanded. So on the Ortur machine, we have rails that you can purchase that would extend the y-axis to 850 millimeters. And on the xTool D1 Pro, they have rails that will extend this to 936 millimeters. So you can see that you can get a larger engraving out of the xTool D1 Pro versus the Laser Master 3. Now, when it comes to the actual lasers that you can get on these two machines, the Ortur machine only comes currently in the 10 watt version. So that would be 10 watts of optical power coming off of this laser. Now, there's a couple different lasers that you can use on the xTool D1 Pro. What you were seeing right here, and what you can see is kind of an obvious size difference, is that this one is the 20 watt laser, so it's twice the power of this 10 watt version. But the xTool D1 Pro also comes in a 10 watt, a 5 watt, this 20 watt, and you can also get a 2 watt infrared laser for things like engraving on metal and plastic. So you do have more options with the different laser modules that you can get to work right now on the D1 Pro. Now, both of these lasers have built-in focus finders, so you can just flip down the switch on this and then on the back here, so that you can find the distance that you need to raise or lower the laser to your piece. They both have that. And when it comes to the speed of these machines, the Laser Master 3, the top speed of that is 20,000 millimeters per minute. And with the xTool D1 Pro, the top speed is 24,000 millimeters per minute.
Hello, Ryan from the future. You can tell I have a little bit of a beard, but I wanted to clear up something at this point that I say in the video, just to kind of be a little bit more transparent and fair. So when I'm talking about the speed of these machines, I'm talking about the 10 watt Laser Master 3 versus the 20 watt xTool D1 Pro. And that's not really fair because obviously the 20 watt is twice the power of the 10 watt. And so it can move faster because it's got more power and can burn faster. So really, to kind of compare apples to apples, I'm going to give the speeds of the comparable lasers. So the 10 watt Laser Master 3 from Ortur can run at 20,000 millimeters per minute, but the 10 watt xTool D1 Pro can only run at 10,000 millimeters per minute. So you can see with the Laser Master 3, it can run twice the speed of the xTool D1 Pro 10 watt. Now, again, if you end up going with the 20 watt version of the xTool D1 Pro, then you can travel or burn at the larger speeds that I list in the video. But I just wanted to kind of clarify that, just to be fair to both of the companies and the specs, just so that we're really comparing apples to apples on that one. So the rest of the build in the machine should be the same, but I did want to clarify that. So back to the video.
Now, when it comes to the software that both of these machines run off of, the Ortur Laser Master 3 is more of an open source machine than the xTool D1 Pro. And what that means is you can really go in and change any parameters that you want to. You can use a lot of different programs with this. So, of course, you can use Lightburn. They have their own proprietary software called Laser Explorer. You can use Laser Gerbil, or whatever you want that's using Gerbil and can read G code. You can use with the Laser Master 3. Now, the Ortur machine is not an open source machine. You can use Lightburn, which is what I recommend using on all of these lasers. So that's great that you can use that. But the only other thing that you can use with this machine would be the proprietary software, xTool Creative Space. Now, to be fair, xTool Creative Space is one of the nicest, if not the nicest, proprietary software that I've seen for any of my laser engravers. So I really do like it, and I think for the average user, you can get away with a lot of stuff just using xTool Creative Space. But honestly, if you're kind of a more advanced user, if you want more of those features, you're going to use Lightburn with either of these machines, and they both support it. So that's really what I would recommend using for. Now, both of these machines also use Wi-Fi. However, with the Laser Master 3, you can use Wi-Fi with Lightburn. Now, on the xTool D1 Pro, the only way that you're able to use Wi-Fi is if you're using that xTool Creative Space program. There's no other way to wirelessly send stuff to this machine other than using that program. So again, because this is open source and they give you more access to kind of different parameters on this machine, you can use that wireless function with both Lightburn, and I've also used it with Laser Gerbil as well. Now, you can see both of these machines now support a very nice sturdy aluminum frame. If you remember, the older version of the Laser Master 2 Pro used more of a 2020 aluminum extrusion. So you can see that they've kind of now moved towards this more sturdy and robust frame. Now the xTool D1 Pro is using almost an identical frame to the original D1. So you can see it's still a very, very nice and robust machine. Now, one of the gripes that I had with the original xTool D1 was the fact that the original D1 didn't have limit switches. Now, the new xTool D1 Pro does have limit sensors. They're sensors instead of switches, but the functioning is the same. So you're able to use absolute coordinates now with this machine straight out of the box. So you can find your home position and know exactly where your laser is in that workable space. Now, the Laser Master 3 also has a way of doing limit switches, but they actually removed their limit switches, to which I was a little bit skeptical about when I first heard about it. So instead of using limit switches or limit sensors for this machine, they actually are using the stepper motor drivers to calculate those limits. So as the laser goes over to the side, it hits a screw, and that kind of friction or stopping of that triggers those limit switches. Now, I have to say that I again was skeptical of it, and I wasn't a huge fan of that, but they work fine. So there's really nothing for me to complain about. It functions the way that you would assume that it should. Now, both of these lasers also come with air assist that you can add on to these lasers. So the Ortur Laser Master 3 has a hole in the top of the laser module itself that you can just plug your tubing into, and then there's a nozzle that screws on to the end for your air assist. And with the xTool D1 Pro, There is also a similar type of conical nozzle that fits right on to the laser head, and then has tubing that will come out to the side and then kind of come off of the machine. So both of them pretty much function in the exact same way. There's also air pumps that you can get from both of these companies. There's one that comes with the xTool D1 Pro. There's a Ortur version as well. So as far as air assists are concerned, they pretty much function identically to each other. So now on to the safety features of both of these machines. Again, you have your shield on both of these. You still want to use your safety laser glasses anytime you're using any of these machines. But as far as other safety features are concerned, they both have flame detection. They both have bump detection. They both have detection that tells you if the laser has been on but is not moving. It'll give you a warning. Now on the Laser Master 3, it has some added features that you can see on the front here. It has an emergency stop button, which is really, really nice to see. There isn't necessarily an emergency stop button on the xTool D1 Pro. This button over here is more of a function button. It's for accepting jobs that you sent over Wi-Fi and things like that. The Laser Master 3 also comes with these keys, and these keys are just a way of locking your machine. So it's a way of turning the machine on and off to kind of prevent people who are not supposed to be having access to this machine. So it's another safety feature. I think the bigger one on here is the emergency stop button. Again, it's not over here, but there is a switch on the front that you can just flick if you need to kill the power to this. But it is nice to see that they're at least thinking about different ways of being safer with these machines. With both of these machines, you can also engrave on round or cylindrical objects like tumblers or glasses or things like that. With the Ortur machines, they kind of have the same rotary that they've had for a couple of years now. And it's a rotary attachment that you have to put together. You have to assemble it. And you would just plug that in. Now, one of the nice things that this machine has is it has a switch here on the back that allows you to change between using the Y-axis motor or the rotary attachment. So you don't really have to unplug your Y-axis motors. You can just plug this in and then tell it which one to use. Now on the xTool version, you have to unplug the Y-axis motor and then you plug the rotary tool into it. So it would be nice if there was a way to not have to do that. I've seen some aftermarket thing where people kind of like have put a switch in there where it essentially does the same thing as this switch, but it's not standard on this machine. However, the rotary that you can get with the xTool D1 Pro is a little bit nicer in my opinion. So there's two versions that you can get. You can get the original one, which is just a set of rollers, and you just place your cylindrical objects right on that and you can burn right onto it. But they also have come out with a newer version, and it's called the RA2 Pro. And that one has the same functionality where it has the rollers where you can put your tumbler right on those rollers. But it also comes with a chuck attachment. And that chuck attachment can be used for cylindrical objects, grasping, things like wine glasses and things like that, Christmas ornaments. It also has an attachment for doing engraving on rings or really small bands. So there are a few more things that you can do on the rotary attachment on the xTool D1 Pro than you could do with the rotary for the Laser Master 3. Both of these machines would also need to be raised if you were using the rotary attachment. On the xTool D1 Pro, you have these feet that can unscrew, and you can buy more of these feet or 3D print them or however you want to do it. And you screw on more height onto this machine. Now with the Laser Master 3, they just came out with an attachment that I don't have, but it's a set of folding feet. So the feet attach underneath and then they fold out to give you that height. Now, I guess once you unfold those feet, you're kind of set to that height. Whereas with the xTool, just depending on how many versions of those feet that you screw onto this, you can kind of change this to any height, where again, this one is kind of fixed. Now that brings me to another thing I wanted to kind of discuss about these machines, and it's the overall height. So you can see that the Laser Master 3 is really low to the ground. And just by default, the xTool D1 Pro is much higher. Now, the reason this might matter is that if you're ever using a larger piece of material and you want to be able to slide it under, you're not really going to be able to do that with the Laser Master 3. With those new foldable feet, they don't detach. So once you put them on and fold them under, it does lift this machine up a little bit. So then you do have a little bit more space to pass things under. But as it sits right now, you can see like the stepper motor right here is so much lower to the ground that you really can't put any material under that and still be able to use the laser. So I do like the height of the D1 Pro just out of the box to be able to work with more materials and be able to have just a little bit more wiggle room when it comes to the pass-through on the front and on the back. As you can see, like you couldn't really fit anything under this Laser Master 3. And so kind of one of the last things I wanted to go over was the enclosures that you can get for these two machines. Now I have and have done a video on the foldable enclosure for the xTool D1 Pro. It just builds up around the laser. There are these fire retardant pieces that kind of butt up right up against the laser, but the whole thing is foldable. It's collapsible. You can kind of put it away when you're not using it. Now, Ortur also just came out with their own version of a enclosure for this machine. It's a little bit different. I don't have one, but it looks like it's a skeletal frame that you build up and then you put a cover over it. So I don't know if it is as portable as the xTool D1 Pro, but it still would serve the same function as, encasing the smoke. They both have vents that are able to get the smoke out of the enclosure to vent it out outdoors or wherever it needs to be. Now, the other thing is on the xTool D1 Pro, they have a version of that enclosure that you can also use with the extended rails. So you can buy an attachment that attaches to the enclosure for this, so that if you were using the extended rails, you could still use that enclosure. I haven't seen anything like that yet for the Laser Master 3. Doesn't mean that it's not coming out, but again, as of the time of this video, I have not seen anything for that. So just keep that in mind if you're trying to use the extended version. Now, another thing that I just wanted to talk about real quick about size is, even though the xTool D1 has a larger workable area, you can see that it's not as long as the Laser Master 3. For whatever reason, just the way that this one was designed, it's barely on this table. So if you were to look underneath, the little rubber feet that are holding this on this table are not exactly 100% on this table. So just keep that in mind, depending on where you're going to be placing this, that you do need a slight bit more amount of real estate for the Laser Master 3 than you do for the xTool D1 Pro. For the xTool D1 Pro, you can fit it on a 2x2 foot board, whereas if you try to do that with the Laser Master 3, it would come very, very close to being at the edges of that table or board or whatever it is that you're putting it on. Not a huge deal, but just something to keep in mind, when you're figuring out where you're going to put something like this. So that's it. Again, this is just a very quick kind of comparison between the two. If you want more in-depth information on either of these machines, I do have reviews on both of them. which will go much more into the usage of the machines and what I was able to do with them. But I just wanted to give a quick rundown of some of the differences, because I know a lot of people see these machines, they don't know exactly which one they should go with. Again, I think these are both very capable machines, and I won't really go into which one I think is better than the other. I'll let you guys decide that for yourself. So if you like this video, please do hit that like button and consider subscribing for more videos having to do with laser engravers, 3D printers, injection molding, and all things maker. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.